Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
Okay, Chris, we are joined again. I love the SCED programs, agency.
Yeah, they're amazing.
And tell me what all those...
South Central Kansas Economic Development District.
There you go.
I think that's right.
Okay, so we are now going to talk today with Erynne Farney. She is with SCED. So, Erynne, would you introduce yourself and the part of SCED that you work with?
Absolutely. Like she said, my name is Erynne Farney. I am the Outreach and Resource Specialist for SCED's Weatherization program, and I have been with the company for 8.5 years. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a long time.
So what are the primary objectives of the Kansas Weatherization program?
So the goal of the program is to help make homes more energy efficient, to put it in layman's terms, really. We're going to go in to help to decrease the cost and how much energy that each home uses, which can then generate savings for the individual living in the home.
And I will say that energy for our low-income families can be unbelievably expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen they'll live in a rental property that doesn't cost very much, maybe $500, and then their bills are $200 or $300 a month, which doesn't make it affordable for them at all.
So not at all.
Yeah, this is really, really an important program. So who qualifies? Who does qualify for this?
So it is an income-based program, and the qualifications are 200% of poverty level, which is handed down. Those guidelines are handed to us through KHRC, which is Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, and they are given those guidelines from the Department of Energy.
And the number of people,
no wiggle room.
Yeah, the number of people in the home does play a factor, correct?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. And you'll see on the application itself, but we also on our website, which is sced.org, you will see on the weatherization page right by the application, there is a place where it will list the income guidelines, or you'll click on it and it'll pop them up. And that changes every April 1st, but it will give the number of people and then how much the maximum that they're allowed to make depending on the number of people in the home.
I think 200% above the poverty line, that's quite a bit. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent, when you look at, I think right now for one person, I'm going to quote it wrong, but it's, and I can pull it up, it's pretty decent. It's over 30,000. It's still, in our day and age, things cost so much, but it really does, I think, and the higher it goes up, allowing individuals to be served, it really does. I think it's a good amount as far as the struggle that individuals may have and kind of putting them in that category, I guess. So I don't think it's unreasonable.
Mm-hmm. What type of improvements are typically made through the weatherization program?
Each home can be vastly different, and when our inspectors do go in and do an audit, that is what helps determine those services. And so each home can be different just based on how many people are in the home, if they smoke, if they don't smoke, those types of things. But the big items that we see the majority of the time are HVAC system, whether it's furnace or AC or both, insulation, attic walls, floors, types of things in mobile homes, in the belly. You have windows, refrigerator replacement, fan upgrades, which usually most of the time we see like the ventilation fans in the bathrooms. And then they have, a lot of air sealing things, which can include weather stripping the front door, adding a door sweep to the front door, things along those lines.
You help people replace the refrigerators?
Yes, and it's not every single person, but the inspectors do check that. There's lots of cases where we've been able to go in and replace the refrigerator as well. And replace it with a more energy efficient.
I have never heard that part of it. I know I've helped people fill out the weatherization application and get it sent in, and we've had some success stories of helping people with that, but my brain never went to refrigerator. So you just kind of blew my brain there for just a second.
All right. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. I mean, how much, if we have an older refrigerator, how much energy it can use. So, replacing it with an Energy Star, more efficient running refrigerator can make a difference for them as well.
What about windows? Do you do windows? Is that a thing?
We do windows.
You do
it
do
is.
windows.
Mm-hmm. And I always like to be transparent with the rising cost. It's become a little bit more difficult, but it is a potential. We still see it, especially with multifamilies, but we do see it in the single families as well. So that can make a huge difference as well. Insulation, that alone, that can make a big difference.
So if somebody has a newer furnace and maybe a refrigerator is okay, but they need new windows and a little bit of insulation, is it like a situation where they need to do everything, but if you have part of it done, or how does that work?
So we don't get to pick and choose, and neither would the homeowner or the resident per se. So when they go in and our inspectors do what we call the computerized energy audit, which is what tests the efficiency of the home. It generates a report for us that we're able to look, and it puts things on a number scale based on like savings to investment. Things have to pay for itself over a certain amount of time for the state to approve it. And so it just depends on where it's at on the list. We can't skip any measures. So if there is something that is at the very bottom of that number, that scale or that list that they don't want to have done, we could potentially, we wouldn't have to necessarily do that. But if to get to the other services, you would have to bypass that, then we wouldn't be able to. We could only go up to wherever that item was listed, but nothing below, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, is this a program where I can only apply for it once in my lifetime or once in the home's lifetime?
Not once in the lifetime. It's every 15 years.
Okay.
And it is based on address, not on individual. So we always like to make sure people know that, because if you have renters and they move from one rental to another rental, let's just say that they had weatherization done in their previous rental, they can still apply for their previous or their new rental if that home has not been weatherized.
Okay, but it would
15 years.
It would impact the home they just moved out of. Somebody new moving in there and being able to
Absolutely
apply for something.
So if I'm a landlord and you came into my home and you were able to do that for me, and then the person moves out, do I have to make sure the next person moving in fits the low income guidelines?
No, you don't. What we ask is there's a couple places where we require a homeowner signature. So that gives us legal right to go in and do any kind of upgrades. So with the rental situation, that's, very important. And it just states in there that they like to see that people are not raising the rent for the current tenant within a year's time. The normal market rate and that people would normally raise it. It's not talking about that. It's talking about and it's just for that tenant. So you have someone in the home and they have weatherization done, and then all of a sudden you're wanting to raise their rent by $200 type of thing. But the next tenant that moves in, that's the landlord's choice, whether or not that they still would want to keep someone, within that lower income area, or if they want to move out of that and have another kind of guidelines for whoever they have move in. That's totally their call.
Are there any partnerships that exist within local agencies and organizations to implement weatherization effort? Do you work with any other agencies?
We do collaborate with different organizations. I mean, of course, we have the grants program within our organization. So when they do the CDBG housing grants for a community, then we try to collaborate with the grants department so that we're able to maximize what each home can get. And there have been partnerships that we've had with Interfaith Housing in Hutchinson. So there's other partnerships that we've worked alongside, and we're trying to kind of get one going with the city of Wichita. They had some additional funding that would kind of help us bridge a gap with deferrals. And so, yes, that's a long way of me saying yes.
Okay, so here's another question for you. So I'm adding something to a question that we already had, but so we know that weatherization does impact energy efficiency and cost savings for our residents. Have you ever had a really crazy story where you did something and it was unbelievable, the amount of energy that they've been able to save, I guess, or funding or money that they've been able to save because of what you've done? Or do you even collect stories? Because sometimes, you kind of do your thing and then you move on to the next one and you do next one. I know for the Housing Coalition, we've got some incredible stories with our Brush Up MAC program, how we have a lady that we've been helping for years, and she's 102 years old, still living in her home. And it's because of that Brush Up MAC program that comes and does her yard and does wheelchair ramps and all the things. So I'm wondering if you have any kind of stories like that from what you're doing.
So we do success stories. I'll be honest, I've done a lot, and we're trying to get even more consistent with trying to have a success story come out. We're hoping once a month that I'd be able to do that. And I've seen quite a few. I mean, I would say on average that we're seeing about 20 or 30% savings annually for those individuals that we have provided services for. Now, obviously, that's an average. I have had multiple widow women that I have dealt with, and they're standing out in my mind just because I know that they were scared and not sure. They had the older generation. I mean, their husbands handled everything, and they were kind of lost when their husband passed. And so it was, it's gratifying to know that we're able to help someone like that. And that made a big difference for them, took some stress off financially, emotionally, I think. And so I think we've seen multiple cases where it's just been very rewarding to hear how it's made not only, like I said, the monetary side of it, but also the emotional side in helping individuals and taking some of that stress off of their plate.
Yes. Oh, I love that because, not only are they dealing with the trauma of now being alone after being married for however many years, but to realize that, my husband, he didn't deal with the roof or we needed this fixed a long time ago and it never got done for whatever reason. And now in order for them to even stay in the home they're used to, without traumatizing them even further, that you have to move, for you guys to be able to come in and do that is amazing.
So I do have another question too, as far as, okay, so I'm applying and I filled out the application. What does that process look like for me as a single person or whoever, a family? What does that look? What is the process? Like you fill out the application and then what happens?
So you get the application to us, which we have multiple ways. You obviously can use snail mail, or we do have an email that we have established just for people that want to send it over, info@sked.org. They can email it, they can scan it in and email it, fax it. So there's multiple ways of getting it. Once it is received in our office, we go ahead and we enter in the individual into our system just so that if someone calls in and wants to know, hey, did you receive my application? Yes, we have received it. Anyone who answers can look it up and say, yes, we've received it, but it hasn't been processed yet, or whatever the case may be. So we enter them in. Once it goes through the processing, right now we have a pretty lengthy list, but lots of things can change that. So the girls will process the application, and then once an application is approved, you're added to the wait list for an initial inspection. Once they're ready to do an inspection, then you would be contacted by either one of our ladies or one of the inspectors to schedule. They'll do a full inspection just as a buying or selling, and then that includes that computerized energy audit. And once that audit and the paperwork is completed, then you would move on to the next phase, which is us assigning a contractor. And once a contractor is ready to schedule the first round of services, you would be contacted for that. And then we have the second round of services, which usually is like insulation and things like that. Then after all the services are complete, we do have our final inspectors that come out, do a full inspection of all the work that was completed, make sure that it was done the way that the work scope has indicated, and make sure it's done accurately. If there's anything that needed to be tweaked, then inspectors would put that out to make sure that the contractor comes back out. And then from the date of that final inspection, there is a year warranty with our subcontractors, that if anything were to go wrong with anything that was done for the home, then the subcontractor will come out and honor that year warranty free of charge to fix whatever may have happened. If there's a fluke accident with the HVAC system or something with the insulation, what have you.
That's awesome. So how long is your wait list, and about how long would that be before somebody's contacted?
So there, like I said, there's a lot of variables at play with that. When within the processing of applications, we are steadily getting caught up, but we're still probably about 60 days out once we receive an application. Then once we actually send out the approval letter, we are quoting anywhere from 12 to 18 months for the entire process to be completed. That includes that final inspection. Now, that is just an estimated time. Like I said, there's a lot of things that can change that. If our inspectors are in a specific area and they've had a lot of cancellations or no-shows, they may just go and pick, they'll go down the line, and so someone could move up because of that, because someone else may not have answered or showed up. So there's not all of those individuals that are on the wait list for an initial inspection are going to be approved for services. We may have some that are actually what we call deferred, which would mean that there are things that are in the home that is holding us back from proceeding with weatherization because of multiple reasons. I can give an example. If someone has a roof that is bad and it's leaking, the state will not approve for us to put in insulation and HVAC if there's that potential of it being ruined. So the roof would have to be addressed before we could come in and we could do weatherization. So things like that can also change the wait list. Now, I will just say, since we touched on the deferral, that we don't have a ton of it, but we do have additional funding and supplemental funding that we try to use to help bridge the gap of some of those deferrals as well. So not every person, because we don't have enough to help everyone, but we may have some individuals that are on the list for getting a new roof, and we're able to pay for that with the supplemental funds that we have. And so we don't get quite as much of that as we do with our other grants, but our girls that handle that definitely do a great job of making sure that it's spread out, and we're able to help as many as we can.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you that when you said wait list, I deal with people that have wait lists all the time. To get a response within 60 days is wonderful, because we're normally talking 6, 8, 12 months down the road before I'm even going to hear anything.
Yeah,
so
that's not
60
that's
days
not
is amazing.
Terrible.
You guys are amazing.
I have another question. This is kind of a simple question, but I know in today's society with scams going on, do your people that meet with our families or seniors or whoever it is, do they carry ID? How do they know that it's your person who just came to their front door? How does that work?
All of our inspectors wear and have sched shirts on. And so the ID, that's actually a great point that you were making, because we actually have talked about that because of that issue. But they do have sched shirts on. They do drive in trucks that have our logo. So it can be obvious that way. With our subcontractors, of course, they're not actually our employees. We're subcontracting them out. However, they're usually contacted prior to. And so they will know, that this is when these people are coming. This is when and they always are more than welcome. And we always stress this. You are more than welcome to call and check because of that. Because if you're not feeling like, I'm not quite sure if this call that I got is really legit, then don't hesitate. Give us a call. Us in the office can look any of that up. We'll be able to tell if you are scheduled for the certain day that they're saying, and we can provide any of that information if they have any kind of hesitation. Because I get it, even with phone calls. We get a lot of spam phone calls.
Yeah,
people don't want to answer, but we don't mind leaving voicemails so that people can call us back if needed.
Okay. Now, I have another question regarding an individual applying. Is there a dollar amount that you cap at?
There's not a dollar amount that we cap at necessarily. Because of the fact that the audit is really what determines what services that we're able to provide, that's really what is going to determine, how much we end up putting into a home. So there could be a home that only approved for, $5,000 worth. And there could be another home that could, qualify for $10,000, $12,000 worth. It's just hard to know because it's going to be different per home.
Yeah.
They like us to keep the average within a certain amount, but that doesn't, we don't have to cut off services because of the fact that, we're trying to keep it within an average, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
That really leaves you some flexibility in what you can do for somebody when there's not an amount.
Yeah.
I think, if this person barely needs that, then you can use that money over here. And that's really good that they do that.
Do people ever get moved to the top of the list because it's an emergency? Like, say their heater, their furnace just quit working.
Goes out. So overall, we don't have emergency services. However, KHRC does have us base the need on a number scale. So there's certain questions that are beyond the application, elderly, disabled, children, and those all will add up. So we do base on that. If somebody has, all, 4 of those things, 5 of those things, whichever, then they would actually be moved up on the list. The problem is that the majority of our clientele have very similar issues across the board. With no heat, we do have from October through March, anyone who is no heat is bumped up as priority as well. But there again, that's a wonderful thing. But this year we had a lot of individuals that were no heat. And so, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's still not going to be a bunch of other people that are in the same situation, but it does at least bump you up. Unfortunately, air conditioning in the state of Kansas is not considered a necessity.
Oh my gosh.
But if someone, I know, but
who do we talk to about that?
I know, right? That's what I wonder too.
Tell me, I'll make a phone call. I'm happy to do it.
Right? Well, and especially when you have individuals who have COPD, that have trouble breathing, that can be a major issue. And so I think that's where that other scale kind of comes into place, that they're disabled. We try to get to everyone as quick as we can, but I think it is hard when we have the majority of our clientele are all very similar in some of the issues that they're struggling with.
Well,
we just try to do our best.
One thought that comes to my mind, Chris, is when we get those phone calls from somebody who now the heater doesn't work, and they want to know, because we have Brush Up Mac, if we have any funds to help replace a heater. And, we've helped a couple of different families along that line.
Well, we should be applying for this.
Well, I think not only, maybe we can help them, because so far we've had luck doing that, but then have them turn in an application to SCED, because there's probably other things that could be addressed that, like you said, until it breaks down, you don't know. Okay, what educational resources are available to residents regarding your program, energy efficiency, just anything that would fall under your purview?
They do hand out pamphlets to each client. And at the end of, when they do the final inspection, they also have kind of an educational paper that they look over and that they sign. It kind of helps walk them through, like with HVAC, some of the things that they may need to do. I know that if they were to look at Department of Energy, their website, they always have amazing information to help, just even little tricks. KHRC's website may be able to guide people through that as well, that Kansas Housing. So along with the pamphlets and the education that our inspectors try to provide when they're going through the process with the client, those are also additional resources people could look up. Department of Energy especially has quite a bit that can be helpful. And that's important too, because if someone has had a new furnace put in, but they don't change any of their habits, it's not going to last as long as it should if they're not changing anything of what they're doing.
Well, that's
so it is
true.
important for them, to try to change and to see, okay, what is it that maybe I was that's in the home that I could do differently to help it last longer. And so we do try to provide education for them to kind of guide them through that as well. I mean, we may not have all the answers, but it definitely can help.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else that you would want to share regarding weatherization and the programs that you offer to our listening audience at this time?
I will tell you that we have, in addition to just the weatherization program, we have a replacement program, and I'm not sure how long and how much funding that we have left on that right now, but the replacement program is kind of separate from weatherization, and we've been using it for, let's just say that we have someone who was served 10 years ago, and so they're not eligible to be served under weatherization again. And at the time that they went through the program, their furnace was working just fine and it didn't test to be replaced, but now it is and it's gone out. Okay. Then we could actually go in and just replace their furnace or just replace their air conditioner. And it's totally separate from weatherization. So I think just for anyone who is, either done the program in the past or, is maybe and it's for homeowner. I will say it's just for homeowners on that one. But also I think on just the weatherization program as well, I want people to remember it's not only just for homeowners, it's renters, rent to own, multifamily, single family. So we can help all of those.
Okay. And if somebody has a question and they're hearing this podcast and they go, oh my gosh, I might qualify for something here, tell them how to get a hold of you.
Okay, perfect. So you can reach us multiple ways. We have that email that has been set up. It's info, INF as in Frank O, at sked.org. And that's also listed on our website. But that email, you can submit questions. You can submit completed applications, any of that. Our website is sked.org, which is S as in Sam, C as in cat, K as in kite, E as in Edward, D as in dog, D as in dog.org. And if you go to the weatherization page, there's information there, and you should be able to download and print our application. You can also call us, and our number is 316-262-7035, and it's option 1. And that's going to take you to the weatherization department. And we are happy to answer any questions, help guide you through filling out the application, whatever is needed.
That was great information.
Thank you, Erynne, so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being a guinea pig on our call-in podcast recording.
Absolutely. Anytime.
We learn every time we do this. So I just want to thank everybody for listening today. If you're interested or you know someone who'd be interested in being interviewed on Housing for Good, drop us a line, leave us a review, tell us how we're doing, tell us what you hate. Housing for Good.
I don't want them to tell us what we hate. We'll just cut that part out.
Housing for Good at McPhersonHC.org. Thank you for listening and have a great day.